The moon is on the corner. La, da, da, dee, dee. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. This is the second in a series of short videos that I'm making about my songwriting process, and for today I'm going to feature a song called Ill Wind, which comes from my second solo album, Too Late, which was recorded in 2008 but not released until 2018 after the movie Bo Rap. As with a lot of my songs, lyrically it's more or less a complaint about the state of the world, but it comes from the title Ill Wind comes from a proverb that was first came to light in the 16th century, and the proverb is that it's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. It seems to be a bit of a pessimistic comment on the state of the world, but then I don't think there's an awful lot to be optimistic about. Personally, I'm quite happy, but I think the world could do with a bit of a boost. Anyway, first of all, before I go into the nuts and bolts of the song, I want to play you this little track. It's by a band called the Playmates.
While riding in my limousine, what to my surprise,
Comes from 1958.
a little bubble car was following me, about 1/3 my size.
Okay, so that's the Bubble Car song from 1958, and the reason it has a bearing on the creation of Ill Wind is because I first heard that song when I was about 10 years old, and for some reason that first melody line just stuck with me. Riding in my limousine, I saw to my surprise. Okay, now keep that in your mind. Now, what about this? The moon is on the corner. La, da, da, dee, dee. Okay, now that's in a different key, but it's effectively the same melody, and I used that melody, or at least a derivation of it, when it came to writing the song Ill Wind. It just stuck, and it just kept going around my head until it metamorphosed into the actual song itself. So let me play you Ill Wind itself, and maybe you can see what I mean. Okay, so you might think that there's a bit of a tenuous connection there between the two tunes, but believe me, this has happened to me more often than not. A melody will go into you. In fact, it's another thing which is really quite interesting is that melodies seem to stick around longer than any other kind of memory. And the memory for this particular one, as I say, isn't isolated. It's happened a lot of times. A melody just goes round and round my head, and gradually what happens is it starts to metamorphose into something else. And if I add a kind of a different rhythm to it, things come out like the melody on Ill Wind. And what's more interesting is that it can happen overnight. It can happen while you're asleep. I mean, there are more times than I care to remember when I woke up and a tune that had been going through my head when I went to sleep has turned into the loose bones of a new song. In fact, as I recall, my song Low Rent Blues is another one of those, especially an overnight sensation, as you might call it. And I'll probably feature that later on in this series. But just a message to budding songwriters. I mean, don't be intimidated by the thought of borrowing things, because you can't avoid being original. And just let something stew. If there's a tune you like, or something that is something you feel inspired by, just let it stew in your mind. Throw it around, kick it about, anything, it doesn't matter, and eventually it will turn into a new creation. I can guarantee it. So there you go. Well, if you like the vid, please subscribe, of course, and hopefully you'll be able to tune back next week, when I will be featuring a song from my third album, which was in fact the joint album with Paul Stewart from the band Staffell and Stewart, and I have one or two interesting things to say about that. Thanks. Bye for now.